What we're going to be talking about tonight is the hosting of foreign exchange students. And the company that I work for is the WISE Foundation, and WISE stands for Worldwide International Student Exchange. The company was founded in 1989 by Dave Dahl, who is a fantastic guy, a good friend of mine. Basically, I'm just going to go ahead and read at this point. The Foundation for Worldwide International Student Exchange, or WISE, is a nonprofit organization providing international exchange opportunities to students, youth, and adults. We are staffed by dedicated, enthusiastic team members with years of experience in working with international exchange. WISE staff are well qualified to assist program participants in all phases of the program in order to ensure a meaningful and memorable experience. The goal of the WISE Foundation from day one has been to promote world peace and understanding through cultural exchanges and global friendship, to be accomplished through academic, professional, and recreational programs. This is very important because although people in WISE and that work with WISE get paid, they could probably make a lot more money, out in the private sector doing other things, but they don't do it for the money. It's a nonprofit organization, and the funds are much lower. But the reason it's done is because of this goal, promoting world peace and understanding. Many wars have been fought by countries because of the lack of understanding of one another's culture. The purpose of this program is to bring foreign exchange students in from other countries to experience America through the eyes of a citizen, not a tourist. So they come here and they live with an American family. They integrate themselves into an American family as a son or daughter of the host family. They have siblings sometimes that become their brothers and sisters. They go to the public school system and they experience American education. And they get to do all the things that American citizens get to do during their time here. And most of our students in the high school program, which is what we're talking about now, come here for a 10-month or a full academic year. They don't go home. They stay here the entire time and completely immerse themselves in the American culture, with the hopes that they go back to their country and tell all their friends and family how wonderful America truly is. And they can speak from the eyes of an American. They can speak with the understanding of what America is truly about. So why is hosting a good idea? Well, you get to learn about another culture and how they live on a daily basis. When these students come into your home, they have lived completely different lives. They eat different foods. The way they eat the foods is different. You get an exchange student from China, for example, and they're going to want chopsticks. We have a Chinese boy living in our home, and that's what he used on a daily basis, was his chopsticks. And you're going to learn about a lot of different things, and it's going to challenge your assumptions that you've had about other cultures. We know about other cultures through what we've read and heard from other people. But until you truly experience it, many of the things that you think you know are just really assumptions. And when you get these students in your home, that's going to challenge your assumptions, because they're going to speak to you from a standpoint of truth, because they've lived it. So it's a truly good learning experience for everyone in the family, especially the children. It teaches communication skills and develops patience and flexibility, because you are not speaking to an American that lives in the same part of the country as you and has the same type of dialect and speaks the same slang. You're speaking to a foreigner who does understand and speak the English language, but not at the capability that you do. And so you're going to have to learn to communicate differently than you have before. And that's going to teach you good communication skills, as well as uh, instill and develop a patience and a flexibility within you. And obviously, it's going to improve your language skills. Maybe you can even learn some of your students' language while they're home with you. I spoke German as a kid, and because my mother's German, but that was many years ago, and I forgot almost all of it. And since we've had German exchange students in our home, my German has started to come back, and now I can speak it. Not as well as I did, but I can still carry on basic conversations. You're obviously going to broaden young people's social horizon. These students come over here, they're between the ages of 15 to 17, and they're going to be challenged in many ways. They're going to be away from home in a foreign country, and you are going to be their new family. And this is going to completely broaden their viewpoint of the world and their social horizon. They may have been slightly introverted when they came over here, but this experience is going to grow them. And it's certainly going to grow your family. It's going to grow your family in many ways, but in the most obvious way, these students, although they may come into your home as basic strangers that are very excited to be with you, they're going to leave your home as a member of your family, a son or a daughter. Now, what are some of the reasons that people give for hosting? If you talk to people that have hosted before, why do they host? Well, some of the reasons are they want a desire for exposure to foreign cultures. That's a very common one. People want to be able to experience a foreign culture, but maybe cannot physically go to that land. So we bring that foreign culture to them. They'd like to build long-term relationships. This is also very common. Probably one of the reasons why my wife and I started hosting. We were looking into fostering kids at the time, and somehow, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but we came across foreign exchange students, and we looked into it, and right off the bat, we started hosting two students, and we've been hosting 2 students a year ever since. Changing the dynamics of the children's relationships in the family. This is a real big one. A family that's never hosted before may not have this as a reason why they would host, but a family that has hosted before can definitely understand this and would host again because of this reason. We're talking about reducing sibling rivalry and developing growth within your own teenagers that may be in your home. You see, when a family that has children gets a host student, the dynamics in the family relationships start to change. There may have been rivalries amongst your children in your home. They may have been bickering about one thing or another, and who knows what may have been going on, but there may have been tension or rivalries there. Once that student, the foreign exchange student, enters your home, the focus is taken and placed on that student. Everybody is now looking at that student. The student is now the center of attention within the home. And it's just like a man and woman that's courting or going out on dates for the very first time. In the beginning, they both put their very best foot forward. They want to look their best and act their best and speak their best, and the same thing happens in the home. And so those sibling rivalries, they start to go away, and after a month or so, it's no longer there, or it's very diminished, and it doesn't come back generally speaking, because it becomes a habit in the household. Okay, another reason why people would host is because it prepares them for when their own kids become teenagers. I was speaking to a family just the other night that will probably be hosting for the first time this year. And they have a couple of younger children. And this was one of the things that they told me that they were talking about as husband and wife, that they were thinking that this would be a good experience for them so that they could help prepare themselves for when their own kids become teenagers. And this is from a host parent. This is an actual, something that a host parent actually said. And that is, we found that hosting an exchange student was a great way to reduce sibling rivalries, and hosting and working with teens from around the world has taught us not only how to deal with teens, a practical skill that has come in handy with our own children, but also patience and a better understanding of the similarities and differences among people. Welcoming an international student into your home can spark an interest in your own children as well as in other teens at your local high school in learning about other cultures. The exchange experience can lead to lasting friendships with people from around the world. You see, we cannot grow as human beings, as people, unless we experience something different. If complacency and things always remain the same, then you will never understand the differences and the similarities amongst different people. So this is an awesome thing to experience when you get an exchange student. Okay, these are some pictures I just wanted to show you, a little more personal here. This is my family, my wife. On the left is in a picture. She's baking with our exchange student Marin from Norway, who we hosted a few years ago. Marin was a fabulous baker. I put on at least 20 pounds while she was with us. She was always baking, and everything was delicious. And she's actually in culinary school in France right now, studying and learning to be a chef and a baker from renowned chefs and bakers. The picture to the right of that is our Brazilian student. Actually, the next two pictures are the same girl, Raquel, who is from Brazil, and that was her first time in snow up in Virginia, and she froze to death, but we couldn't get her out of the snow. She was so excited. And then this is her at Christmas with us, which is another wonderful thing. You get to spend all the holidays with the kids. Many of them have not experienced a lot of our holidays. They haven't experienced Thanksgiving and Halloween. And even if they have experienced Christmas, it's nothing like an American Christmas. This is a young man, Eduardo, and his little host sister. When we were up in the Smoky Mountains, he was an awesome young man with younger children. And this is our daughter, not by blood, obviously, but by the exchange program, Nina from Germany. And she was having fun with her host mom, my wife. They were doing, makeup, masks, or whatever they call those things, and goofing around. So many good times. And this is also Nina here on the left with her best friend Casey at Dollywood in Tennessee. This is the next picture is a number of exchange students that we got together, our own exchange students, and all the ones that we had in other families, 20 to 30 plus people in this home that we rented for the weekend up in the Gatlin Smoky Mountains and Gatlinburg. in Tennessee. It was an awesome time. We went zip lining and horseback riding and go-karting, and this was just some relaxing time playing board games. And then this is Raquel here with me when we hosted her. She's actually now in Boston going to college. So probably the most patriotic person I've ever met. Absolutely loves America and did not want to go back to Brazil. We ended up getting her back into the United States only 3 months after she ended up having to go back to Brazil. Okay, so what do you need to provide to a student? If you are a host families, these are going to be some of the questions that you're going to be asking yourself. What do you need to provide to a student? Host families provide room, board, and a family environment. Room means a bed. The State Department does not allow a futon or an air mattress. It has to be an actual bed. You have to provide some sort of storage space for their clothing and a study space, which does not necessarily have to be in the bedroom. You do not need to provide a separate bedroom for the students. It can be a separate bedroom, but the students can also share a room with a sibling. Board means food in the home, 3 meals a day and reasonable snacks. And the family environment means that the student should be treated like a member of your family, not a guest. That is the wonderful experience that a family can have with a student. And so they are just one of your children, just like the rest of them. Yes, that's correct, Felita. The sharing of the room can be with a sibling of the same gender. Generally, we try to get the student and the sibling to be approximately close in age, maybe 3 or 4 years difference. We have had cases where there's been a wider gap in age, but generally you want to keep that age somewhat close, if at all possible. But it does have to be the same gender. They go shopping with you. They go to the farmer's market with you. They go to grandma's for Thanksgiving. And if they stay out past curfew, they can be grounded just like any other teen member of your family. Okay, so they are essentially one of your own. Okay, we don't have teenagers. How can we become a good host family? American families come in all shapes and sizes, and so host families also come in all shapes and sizes. You have parents with teenagers, parents with younger children, young couples with no kids, single parents with children, and even single parents with no children living in the home, empty nesters, and same-sex couples. Certainly, the exchange organizations need to confirm that a family is suitable regardless of who the family members are. And that means that all host family applicants in the U.S. go through a screening process. That screening process includes an application, criminal background checks on all the adults in the home, references, an in-home interview with all the family members, and a host family orientation to educate the family on the basic expectations of hosting. Are host families paid? No, they are not. The U.S. Department of State J-1 visa program, which is what we are talking about, the J-1 visa program for high school students, does not allow payments to host families. Host families can take a tax deduction on their U.S. federal tax return of $50 a month for each month that the student lives in the home, as long as the family itemizes their taxes. And there's more information on that tax deduction found in this IRS publication, and the link is right here. And if anybody would like that link after this webinar, just send me a text. I'm going to share with you my contact information, so you can email me, message me, or you can ask for it on on this webinar as well. So how expensive is it to host an exchange student? Now, these are many questions that we receive when we're talking to families that want to host. They want to know, because this is a reality in their life. The primary cost to a host family is the cost connected with the food. All right, the teenager is going to eat the meals that the family provides, and whatever expense utilities that they may use while in the home, and also gasoline that's associated with reasonable transportation. Reasonable transportation means, just that. You are not expected to travel around the country with these students. They are to integrate themselves into your home, into your family's lifestyle, and that means that they'll join the football team at school, and if any of your other children join the football team at school, you would probably drive them to practice, or maybe pick them up for practice, and certainly probably go to the games, and that sort of thing. The host families are not responsible for the costs of buying lunch at school or any other fees at school. Sports fees, yearbook fees, school supplies. The students also pay for their entertainment when they go out with friends to dinner or the movies. If they have a cell phone or any other personal expenses, hygiene items, toiletries, any snacks that they want that you may not provide in the home. Maybe you don't, eat potato chips and you just have fruit, and that's fine. You don't have to change the way you live. If they want potato chips, then, they can certainly buy potato chips. So these are the responsibilities of the exchange students. And these exchange students also have medical insurance to cover anything that happens to them medically. They pay whatever the insurance doesn't cost, pay for. If there's any co-pays, the student will pick that up. If there's any medicines, the student will pick that up. So the State Department has created this program so that it is a volunteer program for host families, but they're trying to alleviate the burden on the family financially. So they provide the tax incentive for the family to host a student, and they also have the student pick up most of their own personal expenses with the exception of food at home. Do the students know that the host families are volunteers? Yes, they do. The U.S. government requires that we ensure that the students and their families back home are educated about the cultural exchange nature of the program. They are given, the students and their families are given orientations, and they learn about what to expect when they're here, what it's all about, why the families are hosting, and all of that. So the families and students are told that the U.S. law prohibits the host families from being paid, and the families are not hosting for the money. Do the students speak decent English? Very common question. Yes, they do. The U.S. government has a minimum standard of proficiency in the English language that the exchange students must meet in order to be eligible for a semester or an academic year program. WISE has set a higher standard to help ensure the student success in the U.S. high school. One of the reasons among many that students wish to come to America is so they can improve their English speaking abilities. Students do have different speaking and comprehension capabilities, however. The students are all given English proficiency tests in reading and writing, and they have to score above a certain level in each of those to be eligible to come here. And this is to ensure that they do well in school. And they're also taught to speak English, but they don't speak English on a daily basis like we do. So their English speaking is going to be fine. You're going to have conversational English with them perfectly fine, but they may not know certain words, and so their speaking is going to grow while they're here. They're going to learn a lot more just by being here and in your home. How are students prepared for life in an American home? Before traveling to the U.S., the students must attend an orientation to learn about the cultural aspects of American life, as well as practical tips about traveling, cell phone usage, clothing. They're educated about the program rules and the U.S. government regulations and expectations regarding school attendance and living in a host family. The WISE Foundation gives them information on the American customs and traditions, including background on the state and the region where they live. So if a family is going to be living in Tennessee, for example, we will send them information on the state of Tennessee and the region of Tennessee in which they live. What's the additional preparation for the students? The second level of preparation before arrival here is direct communication between the host family and the student. Once the host family has completed the screening process and the school that the student will be going to has signed the required confirmation for enrollment and has been accepted into that school, host families and students can contact one another, and we encourage that they do. They can Skype with one another or Facebook or email, and they can get to know one another a little bit better before they actually meet in person. And finally, after the students arrive here in the U.S., they all attend another orientation, which our local representatives give within 2 weeks after the students arrive. How long do the students stay in the U.S.? The Department of State J-1 Educational Visa Program offers students the opportunity to experience an academic semester, which is approximately 5 months, or a full high school year, approximately 10 months. Most full-year students will come in August and leave in May or June, depending on when the school ends, and a semester student would be in the U.S. approximately 5 months. The students do not go back to their home country until they have completed the program, which means that you get to enjoy them through all of the holiday experiences, which as a host family is probably some of the highlights that we've experienced, and I'm sure that you would as well. This is very common. When I speak to people that have an interest in hosting, that interest is sincere and they want to know about it because they think they may want to do it. But there are a bunch of doubts and concerns and questions and just fear that is piled on top of that interest. And that is why we do these webinars, because it educates the host families about what to expect. And it's common to have those concerns because you've never done it before. Okay, so a family says, well, we're nervous. What if it doesn't work out? The U.S. Department of State requires all approved exchange organizations in the U.S., meaning WISE, to have a support program. Students and host families all have a local contact, which we call local coordinator. By law, the local coordinator will call you or see you and your student at least once every month, if not more, depending upon the location, events going on, and issues needing to be addressed. If problems arise between the host family and the student, the local coordinator will provide support. The local coordinator is basically there as a mediator to help solve problems if needed. Sometimes it's just an issue of cultural differences because the family and the student may not understand one another. They've never experienced the differences in cultures. We've seen students that have never used a dishwasher or a washing machine. And so there are things that we may need to help mediate. Support can include advice on ordinary teen issues, cultural information regarding the student's home country and culture, suggestions for homesickness or difficulties in adjustment, and even disciplinary measures for poor academics or behavioral issues. Support also covers logistical, travel, medical, and daily life issues, like a parent says, can I sign a school permission slip? Or can my student go skiing or snowboarding or join an archery club? We're going to be going to Canada. Can the student come with us? Am I allowed to ground my student for the weekend if he refuses to come home before curfew? These are all common questions that happen in daily life between a family and a student, and that's why we're here, to help you answer those questions. And the answer to that grounding question is yes, you can ground the student just like you might ground your own child. Lots of questions and challenges can come up during an exchange. Most questions can be answered and challenges can be resolved with help. That's why we're here. But some cannot. If differences cannot be resolved, or if something unforeseen happens, like you have to move because of a job relocating you, that should happen in your life that makes it impossible to continue to host your student, WISE will find a new home for your student. If these things occur and differences cannot be resolved, or something unforeseen should happen in your life, you do not have to hold on to that student just because you said you would. We want happy households, and we want safe and comfortable homes. And if things happen that cannot be resolved, we'll find a new home for your student. Okay, and that's not a normal thing, but it does happen. For host families, it's important to be informed about expectations, rules, and guidelines. Students should think through their motivations and their goals about why they're actually here. The reality is that while many families are nervous about committing to an exchange student, and many families worry about sending their child off for study in a foreign country, with help and communication, it usually works out just fine. And most of the time, it works out better than fine. Okay, time for some more pictures. These are pictures from a family that hosted a Spanish boy up in the little west of Atlanta in Georgia. As you can see in the bottom here, welcome to Atlanta, Mario. That's the Mario is the boy in the middle, and that's his two host brothers who are very excited to see him. And look at the smile on Mario's face. You think he's not excited? Upper left-hand corner, these are the boys, Mario and his family doing some yard work. Upper right-hand corner is Mario and his host brother dressing up for some sort of funny day at school. I'm not really sure what it was about, but it looks funny. Bottom right-hand corner is Mario dressing up for a school function, looking pretty snazzy. And the middle picture is actually two host families coming together with their students. The students are both seated in the front, and the families are behind them. And so, you know, as you can see, it's a very happy and enjoyable experience. Memories are made here when families host exchange students. Some more pictures. Upper left-hand corner, we have host mom and her student doing the girl thing again with the makeup mask. Bottom right-hand or bottom left-hand corner is two students that live in the same home. The girl is from Spain and the boy is from China, and they're out planting little bushes or trees. Then the next one is some sort of funny thing that they did at a restaurant. I'm not really sure. That's the family there in the middle going to the state house, I believe. And then another two students here. Well, actually, one's a student and the other's his host brother, doing some work on a building together. And then in the upper right-hand corner, that is two exchange students with their host brother. Okay, well, that basically concludes my presentation.